Hey gang, Parker J here for a special edition of the Right Stuff After Show. I am so excited to showcase to you Jeff Ayers. He's the author of the book right next to me called Escape the Thief. When I started pushing this book out to all my media outlets today, a lot of you are like, whoa, cool cover, great blurb. You all were interested in it. So let him know how interested you were in it by picking up your copy today on Amazon.com. I have all his information at the bottom, along with the publisher, Thinkling's book, which is Sarah Awa's book, publishing company. So make sure you support that company as well by buying their books. But oh my gosh, you are going to love Skate the Thief. If you like fantasy, you like a little genre mishmash, you like a protagonist who grows throughout the experience of her story, Skate the Thief is the one. So go ahead and pick up your copy today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Jeff on board. So excited to have him with us today as we do our quick after show after the show, because we had such a great time on the podcast. Wouldn't you say, Jeff?
Oh, it was a blast. Yeah, really, really a lot of fun.
I liked it too, and I was able to talk to you because we actually gabbed before the broadcast. And in typical Parker fashion, I gnawed his ear off, and but thankfully he's gracious. He didn't say anything about it. He just kind of went with the flow. But yeah, we had a great time talking before and after the show. So I wanted to let you guys know more about him, which is why I love doing these after shows. So Jeff, what were some of the things that you didn't get a chance to say during the podcast that you can say now?
Oh, I think one of the things that I've found is um, there are a lot of distractions out there, and one of my favorite distractions is video games.
Yes.
Um, that's and that's getting more and more embarrassing to say as I get older. But it's true. It's true, and I think with my generation and younger, it's going to get less embarrassing
Yes.
because I mean everybody's doing it, you know. Um, but yeah, that has been one of my favorite distractions for a very long time. And people have been asking me, is book two in the works? Are you working on book two? Because the cover says Rag and Bone Chronicles Book One. Is there going
Yeah.
to be two? And the answer is yes, that has gotten started, but I gotta tell you, with two little ones in the house and we can't go anywhere, it's it is
Good luck on that.
yeah, it is slow going. It is slow going.
There's nothing wrong with gaming. I know a Christian group, God and Gamers or something like that. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I had on my show a few years back, and they talked about how they use gaming to bring about Christian precepts and principles. And the one guy who's head of the organization, he was talking about this game he was playing, and he was so immersive into the game that he was like, and the guy was like this villain who was absolutely horrible. And he was like, I wanted to kill him. He was in my clutches. He was like, and he was like, it's amazing how you come into these right and wrong morality tales in gaming. And he talked about how powerful the gaming set was. He said it's bigger than music, it's bigger than movies and some other industry, I remember he said, because gamers are like righteously, religiously dedicated to gaming. My husband's a gamer. And so it's like, I remember one time I was going somewhere and he knew I was going to be gone for the day. So he started playing video games probably around 8 o'clock that night. And I woke up around 5. He was still playing. I didn't mind because at the time he didn't do it all the time. And so I was like, and I was going to be gone anyway. So I didn't want to sit there and watch him play. Although the game I did get into that he did not let me finish was the Star Trek game. I'm a Trekkie. And I was into the VR Trekkie. Oh my gosh, talk about an experience. I was in the captain's chair and oh gosh. And Amy says, Hi Parker, I always wonder what an after show was, and I love the idea. Amy, thank you so much. I forgot, when did I learn about after show? Probably 2 months ago. So you're in good place, Amy. So thank you for those of you who are watching. We're talking to Jeff Ayers, author of the book Skate the Thief, available right now. So another thing I wanted to ask you, you talk about how distractions and being a writer, particularly in our field right now, um, it's hard. You would think that with the pandemic and not being able to go anywhere, you can write. And so many authors I've talked to have said it is so hard to write. And I actually think it's because of the lack of human interactivity. Because when you go to the store, you see some weird guy or some weird lady, and you're walking, and you going, I'm gonna put that in my pocket. So and then now you can't. And so you're like bouncing off the walls. And I'm an extrovert. So for me, I'm banging on the walls in my
Yeah.
house. Like, let me out. Where my introvert author friends are like whistling and doing what they can do,
Yeah.
they'll call me and say, go ahead and talk. And I say, well, thank you so much. I want someone to understand. So, how do you write past those distractions? I mean, how do you get past it? Or do you ever really get past it as an up and down thing? How do you do it?
Well, for me, it's been even before the kiddos got here. I had to carve out time to do it because if I didn't, I would find myself checking Facebook or playing a game or doing anything else, even though it was something I really wanted to do. The technology is so hardwired in here to be like, hey, you opened up the computer, now let's go do this thing. Do
Yeah.
these things that you're used to doing. Um, that I had to set aside time uh, carved out to do that. And Skate the Thief was one that I wrote mostly on my lunch break at work, and at like 11 at night when everybody was down. And if you are having trouble doing that, I would say set aside time. Like,
Yeah.
be intentional about it, carve it out. Um, because that's the only way this thing got written. If I just wrote whenever I could or whenever I felt like it would have never gotten done.
It never got done.
Yeah,
You'd
uh,
still be writing. Like, it's
that's
coming. It's coming.
that's right. Yeah, I'd still be telling people about that one book that I'm writing. Yeah, it's you got to set aside time to do it. I think it was Stephen King when he was talking about on writing.
Mhm.
He said like you got to treat it like a job. I think that was
Yes.
yeah.
Like, he
Um,
only takes his birthday off. He said he only takes one day off. That's his birthday. I said, well, I figure you reset.
yeah,
That's why you take it off.
and that man says he writes 4,000 words a day,
Yeah.
a day,
Yeah.
4,000 in a day.
That's
Uh,
probably his minimum too. He probably
yeah,
does more than that, but
yeah, that's
his
what he said. He doesn't hit the clock out button until he's hit 4,000 words in a day. Wow, I
and that's a
like
lot of discipline, particularly for us. And I was, for me, if I'm happy, sometimes I get 50 words done, like, yeah. But actually, yesterday, today I was doing some writing and I wrote by hand. I wrote longhand because I
wow,
wanted my thoughts to flow a lot better because I was going back to the time when I was a kid. I used to write short stories. And I always think about it when I was in sixth grade. That's when I really came into my own when it came to writing. And our teacher, Miss Gregg, would give us spelling words. And she said, now turn this into a story. And that's when I really started to come into writing. And I would do that. That was if I did no other homework, that was the one homework I did.
right.
So, but I want to talk a little bit more about Skate the Thief because I highlighted some stuff in the book. I'm just trying to find it. And I like this part here. I'm just going to read it quickly, then have you talk about it. No one had ever told Skate about the semi mystical status of being able to understand the written word. No one had ever sat her down and pointed out that it was something the powerful and the wise could do, and that it helped them to stay powerful and wise. It was an obvious fact to anyone who bothered to look at the world. The children of the ink were all aware of literacy's elevating force. Those who could read were above, while everyone else was below. And this is in, again, Skate the Thief book, which is really a love story about words and written words and how to get to that love story. But it's not a girl child and a boy child per se. It's her pursuit of finding out who she is. And with Skate, she doesn't understand just how beautiful it is to be able to read and how powerful it is. So to go ahead, you expanded on it during the podcast a little bit, but in this particular segment, it's almost as if you're talking to the reader. Like, you want to remind the reader, hey, this is a good thing. Your background certainly tells us that too.
Right. Yeah. I think when I was writing that particular part, I had just finished reading A History of Writing. Like,
Mhm.
I couldn't even tell you who wrote it or what the title of it was because I don't read a whole lot of nonfiction. That's not
Mhm.
at, at, That's just not where I am. I like fiction. But I was reading this nonfiction book, and that was something that the author of this history of writing was impressing on us, that before the Gutenberg press came along, this was a big deal, because
Hmm.
now it's so just part of everything that we do all the time that we don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you go back to a society pre-printing press, everybody knew what writing was, and everybody knew that almost no one could do it.
Yes.
It was a totally different way of thinking. It was a totally different way of organizing information that came before for the vast
Hmm.
majority of people. And it changed the way that we think. Like, just having access to that changes the way that we think, and it does it in such a way that we don't even notice it.
Yeah.
Um, like, no child sits down and starts reading with the intention of, I'm going to start changing the way that I view the world. Like that.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. It
Hmm.
happens, but that's not how it works. The medium of the written word is, it's life changing, um, and it's life changing for anybody who produces it, and it's life changing for anybody who uh, consumes it. And that's not even getting into what it is you're actually writing,
Yeah.
but just that the creative and the receptive act changes the way that we think, and that was a big interest to me as I was getting into writing Skate the Thief, because, like you said, she is aware of what it can do, even if she doesn't understand it,
Yeah.
um, and that's something that she wants. She goes after that. Um, and it's a big driving force in the book. It's the sort of the tempting fruit that gets her to agree to the deal with Bellamy. It's the carrot that sort of pushes her toward, okay, yes, I will consider uh, you know leaving my old life behind, because this is worth it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, how stories can elevate us. You saw how they elevate us and tell us things. So I was also thinking about what other stories have been brought together by stories. And of course, the famous one that comes to mind is the 1001 Arabian Nights by Scheherazade, and how she had to keep telling the story so she won't get killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And back in the 90s, again, I'm aging myself, but back in the 90s, they did a TV movie called Arabian Nights, and it was like a 3 hour thing. This is before the net, people, when the net was really involved. Okay, it was a long time ago. Everybody did things on TV. So anyway, it was this big event, like a 3 hour movie. So they broke it up in 90 minutes, 90 minutes. And in the story, the lady who's playing Scheherazade, she goes, stories can tell us how to live, and they can also can save us. And the way they saved her, for her, the way they depicted it in that particular movie was that the king, who was going crazy because his wife had betrayed him and all this other kind of stuff, he used the story she told to defeat his brother, who was trying to take over his kingdom. And so like the one scene where he goes, open sesame, talk about the Aladdin's cave, he says open sesame, he goes open sesame, he cuts the curtain that separate between him and his brother. And just the whole idea of the story is that I was looking down my phone to try to find the other passage I had marked, but for some reason I can't find it. So I was so upset, like, gosh, I'm trying to make sure I'm not being disrespectful or anything like that. I was like, I'm trying to find it, I couldn't find it. But one thing I like too is that in the story with Skate, she's torn between a lot of loyalties, and she's done it because she has a painful past too. And I like some people, sometimes they disagree with having a mature young adult as a protagonist, except for like you have Harry Potter, or you have what was the other one? What I'm talking about, with birds.
Oh,
Oh
my
gosh.
Hunger Games. Hunger Games.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Hunger Games. Like the birds.
Yeah.
But
I
I
knew what you
mean,
were saying, but I was
you know And these kids are making these life and death decisions. So like, what's wrong with having a mature young adult protagonist? So yeah, talk to us about having that, because we're almost close to the end of our time here, but talk to us about that.
Sorry, there's
Yeah, I know,
squirrels
you're fine.
fighting.
No,
There's squirrels fighting in the tree, and it's
really.
yeah. You're missing something over here. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
it's
So
Emperor's New Groove again.
yeah,
Squeaker,
yeah,
squeak, squeak, squeaking it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they're after, but they are tussling over it. Anyway, um, yeah, the idea that skate is mature and how, because people have told me about the books, like she sounds and thinks kind of older than a 10-year old, and in some ways she does, and in other ways she doesn't. She thinks like a normal 10-year-old. But the problem with uh, kids who go through trauma
Yeah.
early, it
Hmm.
forces them to start having to think and act more like an adult and making those adult decisions um, than like someone like me who had a pretty good childhood.
Hmm.
I grew up in a loving home, and I never experienced anything earth shaking or terrible. Certainly
Hmm.
nothing that Skate went through.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have to start making adult decisions and trying to think like an adult until I was in college.
Yeah.
I had a very sheltered life. And so when you look at these young kids who go through stuff like this, that's their reality. And that's one of the things that, um, as a teacher, I have to be constantly aware of. That's why I will never use the phrase, when you go out into the real world, because they're in it. They're
Yeah.
in the real world right now.
Yeah.
I have 150 kids that come through my classroom every day,
Hmm.
and every single one of them is in the real world. They're making decisions right now that are going to matter for the rest of their lives. Uh,
Yes.
and so I never use that phrase, go out into the real world.
Hmm.
I'll say after high school, like, because usually that's what we mean when we say that. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, some of these young kids that are around us or near us, or uh, they've gone through some terrible stuff,
Yeah.
um, and it it changes the way that they have to think and act.
And that's a good thing, though. But that's a
Yeah,
good thing because, in a sense, I was thinking about, even if you hadn't gone through trauma, I was thinking about Alexander the Great, and he was 14, taking on grown men. I was thinking about Saint George. I cannot pronounce his French name. He was an African in France. He was taking on the masters at 17 in sword fighting. I was thinking about other, kids when we kind of downplay children like, oh, they have to be a child, when I think it's a state of mind. You can have people who are in their 50s very childlike, and have someone who's like 8 years old very mature. So it's all about what happens in their life. And I like that you have that balance of maturity and innocence that Skate has. Because in real life she had this traumatic experience happen. She's trying to make do with what she has. She's trying to survive in this world. She's torn between loyalties, and she tries to fight between what Bellamy offers her and what's comfortable for her, like any of us would. So there's a lot going on in this story. And for those of you watching us, if you get Skate the Thief, one thing about this book, it hits the ground running. As I was reading it today, I was like, wow, I'm like flying through this book because the words are so artfully done, and the language is so easy to read, extremely precise, but not so precise where you're like, oh my gosh, really? you know, it was an inch to the left. Do we really need to know that? Like, or whatever, So
yeah.
it really hits the ground running. And the early reviews state that as well. Like, it's a fast paced book, and you're probably will be done with it before you even know that you're done with it. You're like, oh no, where's book two? And hopefully, where is book two? Is book two in the making? Hopefully.
It is. It is slow going right now, but it is happening. I
That's the
have.
exciting thing, though. You get to, because after book one, you already introduce the characters, they go through their arc. And then now book two is a growing thing. Now we know the characters, now what's about to happen. I think
Yeah.
that's the unique aspect of series. We have series writing, watching that progression.
It,
In
it
real life, we progress in real life.
it's a new experience for me. This is the first sequel that I've written. It's a different beast for sure.
He
Yeah.
says it's not the one that won't ever see any the light of day. Not
No, no,
that one.
that
No. And the those of you got to listen to the podcast, which will be below in this video, in the comment section of this video. You can hear the podcast. It talks about a book that he wrote, his first book, not this book. This is his debut book, not his first one. And he's like, it will never see the light of day. Like this is a child that I would put in the attic,
yeah, and we
like
won't
Mr.
talk about
Rochester and Jane Eyre. He puts his wife in the attic. So,
we'll we'll
see that one.
we'll feed it, but we won't talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll never speak of this again,
Yeah.
right? That's an old term from back in the day. But
Yeah.
look, Jeff, it's been wonderful having this after show with you. Thank you so much. I'm really excited. Like I said, I love the book. And to our viewers out there, make sure you pick up your copy, Escape the Thief, today. Jeff, any last words?
Thank you for having me. This has been a wonderful experience for me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I hope anybody that does buy it, I hope you like it, because I think it's a good story. I wouldn't have put it out there if I didn't think it was good. Trust me, I wouldn't have put it out there if I didn't think it was good. Um,
He'll be keeping company with the other one,
yeah,
right?
exactly. We'd have two in the end. Now this one, I'm very proud of how this one turned out. Um, and I'm very thankful to Thinkling's Books for giving me a
Mm-hmm.
chance to do it, because they took a gamble on
Yeah.
an untried author,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really glad that they gave me the opportunity.
Yeah, but Sarah and Deborah, they're very instinctive when in their track team. I think there's an instinctive thing about what makes a good story because they know what makes a good story because they write good stories. So
Yeah,
yeah. So thank you so much, Jeff, for being with us on this after show. Really appreciate you having us with us today.
thank you for having me.
And for those of you still watching, that was Jeff Ayers. He is author of the book Skate the Thief, available on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Want to thank Thinkling's Books for connecting us. Go to their website. It's in the crawler down below. And as always, prayerfully consider supporting this ministry at patreon.com/right stuff. We've been showcasing Christian authors worldwide for the past 7 years. July will be my 7th year. So, hey, prayerfully consider supporting this. You can become a Quill member for as little as $3 a month. And if you can't contribute, you know what I want? Your prayers. I covet your prayers because I want to showcase as many Christian authors as I possibly can. So thank you again for joining us for this after show, the special edition. You have a wonderful, absolutely glorious, blessed day. And God bless.